All right. All right. Again, hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jennifer Carhart, and I am here with the Masters of Science in Counseling. We are joining us in the CSUSB counseling program. I wanted to share a little bit about our program. Our mission statement aims to target a lot of our marginalized communities and serving our area of the Inland Empire. Here you'll see a picture of two of our faculty members that have joined that join our students typically in the conferences that are local, and some of them are out of the state, or but this is Dr. Hernandez and Dr. Diarigo that are joining the students in one of our local conferences. Here is a picture of all of our core faculty members. We have a large number of adjunct faculty. Myself is Dr. Jennifer Carhart. I am an assistant professor here for the MS in Counseling program. You will see all of our faces that are in this picture. We have one new faculty, that's Dr. Carlos Galan. He just joined us this fall. So what is counseling? What is the range of counseling consist of? What is counseling professions? There is a variety and numerous amounts of counseling fields out there and degrees. Us in particularly are the ones that are in light blue. But other similar programs are like social workers, those are in the MSWs, or marriage family therapist, often are housed in the social and behavioral. Psychologists or school psychologists are also, school psychologists are coming from our department as well. And then there's vocational rehabilitation and counseling programs out there as well. Us in particular, we are the Masters in Counseling, and we offer the PPS credential as well as the LPCC licensure. And I'll walk you through all what that means in a little bit. So we offer the MS in Counseling program, in which you have opportunities to apply and specifically to one concentration or to both of them. The school counseling concentration, that one is CTC accredited. This is the one you will receive the PPS. That means the credential for you to work at a K through 12 system. It's also the credential that allows you to be a counselor in the K through 12 system. So if you are interested in being a counselor, a school counselor, you would need this concentration or this credential. And then we have the professional counseling. This is also what we call in other settings, clinical counseling. This one allows you to apply for your associate professional clinical counselor license, in which then converts to an LPCC after you receive a certain number of hours. This part of our program is accredited by the BBS. And overall, our program is a 3-year program, in which technically speaking, you can do both at the same time if you do the dual concentration. So that means that you would be graduating with a master's in science and counseling with the credential and the license. So what does it look like for the 3 years? It really depends on if you choose one specific concentration or both. So the school counseling, as you can see, the only difference in classes are the ones that are in the very bottom and the different color, like the red or the light blue. Those are the different classes that you would be taking within that time of the 3-year program. Or in the professional counseling, the 3 different classes that are different from the school counseling is addictions diagnosis and psychopharmacology. Since it's overall a 3-year program, typically and often commonly, we do receive more students that apply to the dual concentration. You'll have access through CSU Apply to select which program specifically. We do receive more number of students that apply through the dual concentration, since our program is a 3-year program. I'll walk you through that section. So technically you can finish it, and this is how the schedule looks like. So most of the main core classes are scattered throughout the 6 semesters that you're enrolled here. And it depends if you do want to be only a counselor, you'll take specific classes at specific times of the 3 years. I'll go back. I will cover that in a minute. So again, school counseling is primarily those students that are interested in going into the K through 12 system that are required to have a credential. If you're interested in higher education, technically with your master's in science and counseling, you can still apply as a counselor at community colleges. That's higher education, so you will still be able to qualify for those positions. The K through 12 requires that all counselors have a credential, and therefore our degree provides that credential for you to have in order for you to work in these settings. Now, the professional counseling, which is also considered the clinical side, that is that you will gain the hours and the classes necessary to complete your degree here, to also have the classes that are required for you to apply for your license. And so once you complete your degree, I am going to note that you're still required to complete a certain number of intern hours. This is why technically what we grant is you having the ability to apply for your APCC, which is Associate Professional Clinical Counselor number. And most commonly, students are typically enter the clinical world, get a job, and then they accrue those hours within 2 years, and then they become a licensed clinical counselor. What abilities that gives you is that you're able to have your own private practice after you have your own PCC. For a couple of years, you will be required to have an APCC number, but we grant the classes that are required at a master's level, a graduate level, and we'll assist you with the process of applying for your APCC. The same thing with the credential. So what do you expect from the classes that we have here? Commonly, our classes are held Monday through Thursday between the times of 4 to 9:45, the latest. Now, in some instances, some classes are held at 5, and sometimes they end at 9. But commonly, you are all scheduled. We will all be scheduled between the hours of 4 to 9:45. And we are in a cohort model. So we have students that, for example, next fall, the classes, I believe the cohort starts Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that will remain for the 3 years. Your classes will always be held Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you all can plan accordingly and aim to be in person during those days. Again, typically we have these classes in person. There is some classes that are held virtually, but not many. At the end of your 3rd year, you will be asked to decide to do a culminating experience, and you have the option of doing a comprehensive exam or a master's project. So at the end, you will be asked to do one of the 2 options. And I just wanted to review again the 3-year program course sequence to allow you to see how the classes are structured. So for your first semester, you would have technically 3 classes online and 2 classes in person. And then again, those classes will be scheduled either Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursdays. And I believe the fall 2025 cohort starts on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the same thing will happen when you start in spring of 2026. As you see, spring of 2026, those classes that you're taking, the majority will be in person. It's not until you reach your 3rd year where you'll have a couple more online classes. Through the 3-year program, in spring, technically in fall of your 2nd year, you're already preparing to do your placement, which is your internship site. Here is when you will start in fall of 2026, you would start your hours of experience. The credential and the license require that you have hours of observation That means that a professional or a person that's already licensed or credentialed must supervise you. So there's a number of hours that you will be required to do in order to complete your degree in full. Um, these hours will be required to be done in places that us as an institution have approved the sites. The majority of our sites are at in the local area. Since we do have partnering schools that are similar to our program that have also partnerships with their institutions. We have a variety of sites, but again, we are targeting this area in the Inland Empire. In total, you will be able to, you do a total of 800 hours through the whole, within the technically 4 semesters. For clinical, it's less hours. But if you're doing the dual, you do have a total of 800 hours. In some instances, you're going to be able to do the hours simultaneously, and the placement coordinator, which is Dr. Camilo, she'll walk you through what are those hours look like, which ones can you like double dip or actually do in the same setting that you may be doing. Overall, the students are the ones that are required to identify the location that they will do their hours. And we already have established partnerships, so you're all going to be able to have access to the sites that have been approved by our institution and our program in order for you to have a list of opportunities to apply to or gain your hours to. I do want to emphasize that for the professional counseling or the clinical counseling, again, our goal is to give you the courses that are required by the degree and the APCC number, where you will be able to gain those approved program requirements. But once you enter the profession, you will be required to do about 3,000 hours of supervised degree hours after you have graduated. It does seem extensive, but I have witnessed most of the students that go this route through the clinical side. They are usually always paid. I have yet to see a student that has not acquired a position that is not paid. So here is a screenshot of all of our internship sites or placement sites. Again, as you can see, the majority seem to be a lot more housed in this region in San Bernardino. For our students that are in like maybe LA area, Orange County area, they are a little bit more limited due to the fact that we are primarily serving this region. Also, due to the accessibility of our faculty, since we have to observe you, this is pretty much where we have to come to the sites that we've already developed partnerships in. For those in the high desert or in the in Palm Desert area, we do have a few sites. So it's important that you kind of think about where you want to in the future do hours of experience and be very mindful of these are the ones that we already have. You may pursue looking if you say, oh, I live in LA and I wanna work in such place. That is up to the coordinator to decide if they can have the ability to create partnerships with whatever institution or company you're looking for. But they're not promised, and that process is lengthy. So we always try and tell students, look at the list that we have already in order for you to have multiple options and not delay the process of where you gain your hours. So overall, the application requirements will require that you have a personal statement of 1,000 words, which is approximately 4 pages. In their website, we have a rubric, so make sure you review it. You take the time to look at it and you answer the questions that are being asked. And we will be asked to submit a current resume. Make sure that you're also providing an updated resume. Make sure that you highlight all the work that you've been doing. If it's closely related to the field of education, I'd say definitely include it. If you volunteer or anything like that, definitely include it. Letters of support, we always encourage students to think of who is providing you a letter of support that can strongly attest to your academic preparation or your professional experience, or if you're already working in the field, think about how you identify someone that can write a strong letter of recommendation for you. The other two components is the TB test and the CTC clearance. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this one, since this is typically where I get most to answer the questions. The TB test must be negative. You can take it you can get the results from any of from your personal doctor's office. You don't have to get it from an employer. And then the CTC clearance and the time of the application. Let's say you have not received confirmation that it's cleared by January 30th, provide a screenshot of where the process is in the application. We will require that you have evidence of this upon reviewing that admitted list of students. We will not be, unfortunately, we cannot admit you until we have both of these items. So again, I wanted to emphasize the rubric, ensuring that you all utilize the rubric. A lot of our faculty that will be reviewing your applications will look at the rubric primarily to review your personal statement. On our website, it states that if there's a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. I highly encourage students to apply regardless of the GPA that's stated here. All students that submit applications are reviewed regardless of your GPA. So make sure you submit if you feel that you can attest to other things besides their GPA. We review all the students that submit applications, a completed application. Again, review the rubrics. And then lastly, the process for our evaluation of your application is three of our core faculty that from the list of pictures that you saw earlier will review your application based on this rubric. And then our goal is to identify and notify all students around March, no later than April. So what does the tuition really look like for our institution? Our institution right now, we like many of the other institutions that we are struggling, but also tuition costs impact the entire institution. So our institution right now is about $4,008. So for full-time, technically you will enter as full-time units more than 6 units. So you will be at a full-time status. I do want to say that this tuition cost may increase, but for now, this is what we have, the most recent updated version of it. Which I wanted to share really our competing institutions, what the cost of their programs are. We tend to be a little bit still more affordable for students in our communities. What does our student engagement look like? I'm also the faculty that is the faculty advisor for CGSA. Our CGSA group, they oversee one of our study rooms, and also they oversee a lot of the activities that are held throughout the year. We have social hours, we have social activities. This spring, we'll be hosting the first virtual career fair for all the future counseling students that are entering the workforce. And then they also are in charge of the end of the year event. So that is the primary source of engagement, but also as a faculty, we also engage with all of you throughout the 3 years. This is the MS in Counseling at CSU_CSUSB Instagram. And this is where you'll see a lot of our updates as well, or activities that we're doing. I want to emphasize the deadline is approaching January 30th. Today is our last session, info session. I do encourage that you all ask questions at this time. I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, actually, before we move on, um, we are trying to see the interest of the concentrations. If you have this, you will not be tied to any of this, but if you all can share maybe the interest of concentration you're more interested in, it's just for us to kind of start gauging how many students come in with the interest of clinical or the PPS interest. I'll leave this up for a minute. Alrighty, so you can all email us here at prospectivestudents.mscounseling@CSUSB. In order for you to apply, you must apply through CSU Apply and make sure that you select the concentration that you wish. Should you change your mind, let's say you do choose only one concentration over the other, that can be changed if you are admitted to the program. I'll go ahead and stop sharing. All right, Elizabeth, to your answer, and Asael answered it. The typical hours are between 4 to 9:45.
I have another question.
Mhm. I don't think we can hear.
I have a question.
Sure.
Can you tell us more specifically what, I guess, general advice about what we should put on what they should put in our recommendations?
Yeah, I think the rubric is also pretty clear in that. Um, I would always encourage, this is something I do for all the students. I'm also a pre-med advisor, so I support students that are pursuing medicine, medical schools. I think the biggest issue with letters of recommendation is often students will ask for a letter of recommendation from a faculty that may write a very generic letter. So just make sure that that person knows you well enough to attest about you. Like sometimes some letters are poorly written. It really doesn't tell us much about who you are. So making sure that you are asking for letters of recommendation that may be beneficial for you to heighten more of who you are as a person. It allows the reader or the faculty to understand who you are as a person better. Be intentional. Identify people that will be able to support you highly and speak highly about you, not be very generic because you're not generic, right? Like we want to see kind of that come out. If they can speak, if you, let's say you're like, I've connected with the faculty member, they can attest to my academic preparation. Have them also share with them this rubric and tell them, here's the rubric of the letter of support. If they can highlight it and tie it to how it would be beneficial for you to enter this field, that would be helpful for a reader. I think I think that's where some of our students may struggle because oftentimes it's emphasized to us students that find a letter of support. And then when we get it, then we really don't clarify what should it have in there, you know. So I would say share with the whoever you ask for letters of support, share with them this rubric. And for me, when someone asks me for a letter of recommendation, I ask them to give me their personal statement if it's for a graduate school and their resume. Like I want to know you beyond what I know about you, because it will help me write a stronger letter of recommendation that is beyond what you did in my classroom. And maybe also the students that ask me for letters of rec, I've also gotten to know them in a much more professional setting, which I'm able to attest to that. So be intentional, like don't just ask for anyone to write a letter of recs. Think of who can really speak to who you are as a person too. I think that's valuable, but that's not what's on the rubric. I'm just saying that just be intentional because I think sometimes we have students that submit a letter of rec and it's really a disservice because sometimes like it's this long of a paragraph, which is like 5 sentences. That person that wrote that letter of recommendation did that student more of a disservice than help. Yeah. Thanks, Chase. You can see the rubric here and the link, but you can also access it through our website. Let me see. Oh, I can definitely put the email up there. Mm. So you can email us here. Sheila used to hold our info sessions. Sheila just retired on Thursday, so she won't be able to do a lot of the questions, but I'm the one overseeing this email, so I get these emails directly there. What kind, Luis, the kind of aid that you may have as a graduate student, I think they're a little less, and you'll probably see this across the board in other graduate programs. Most of the assistance or financial aid is more geared towards their undergrad students. I always encourage students to look for scholarships that may be intentionally targeting graduate students. And our own institution also provides opportunities for you to apply for internal scholarships. And typically, when one of our faculty sees it, the notice, we always send it to our students in order for them to be eligible to apply or for them to submit. And how many students are we looking for to admit? So we typically admit 55 students every fall. It is a cohort model. So those students you start with, the students you graduate with. I'm gonna say this, but I don't want you to be deterred by the number. We do typically get about 300 applicants, but typically only half of them fully submit the application. So we're looking at about 170 this past spring. That's how many we looked at. So if we receive, even if we receive 300, we would review all 300 students. And that's why we embedded a rubric to allow the faculty to have a more holistic approach to reviewing the applications, since we're not embedding interviews. Mhm. Yes, so our program only accepts during the fall. We don't accept throughout the year. Yeah. You start fall and graduate in spring of the 3 years after. Yep. I'm going to post our website as well. So again, this is the last information session, and I'm the core faculty member, so I haven't really been the one hosting these info sessions. So this is a proper time to ask questions since I'll be one of your core faculty as well. Humanly, I'm not too sure if there's a fee waiver, to be honest with you. That's with the CSU system. I think that's something that that the CSU goes through. We don't provide application fee waivers through their program specifically, since we're through the CSU system.
I have a more specific question.
Yeah, we love
So
specific.
I applied to this program last fall and unfortunately did not get in. I was wondering if there was a way that I could see like my previous application or something and see like why what I could do better or anything like that.
Yeah, Chase, feel free to message us if you applied last year. Um, yeah, message us with the content, message that email with
The
the
email you just put
items.
in?
Yeah, message us with the documents that you submitted. If anything, I would encourage you to submit a more revised. Probably the personal statement is maybe where you struggled. Um, that is the area that has the most points. Um, but yeah, I think it limits us because we also have a small number of students that we can admit to. I'd be happy to look over the application. If you send it to me this week, I'll probably get to it. But as a faculty, I'm off in the winter, so I won't get to it till January 15th.
Cool. Thank you. I'll definitely do that.
That goes for all of you. Feel free to message the email and any specific questions. I can guarantee you that any specific questions that are pertaining to you, they may be very beneficial to some of your peers in this room as well. In regards to the personal statement, I think also making sure that you're making a good connection with why you want to enter the field. Why is counseling important to you? Um, connect it to, it's helpful if you connect it to your own experiences. They don't have to be a traumatic experience in order for you to highlight why you want to enter the field. You can share, if anything, I'd encourage you to share your professional experiences and tie that closely to how that has now increased your interest in entering this field. Um, and the rubric is very thorough, so making sure that you're making that connection, have other people review your personal statement. That may be also beneficial.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So sorry, did you mention earlier that when we submit our application, we will choose our concentration in the application?
Yeah, so when you go through CSU, you can pick one specific, you can do a professional or school, or you can do dual. You'll be able to choose, let's say you change your mind and you said, oh, I actually originally only applied for school counseling, but I actually want to do dual. If you get admitted, you can change that once you're admitted.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I had another question. It's
Sure.
kind of more like towards me, but like the kind of route that I want to take is MFT. So
Mhm.
is the dual concentration sort of just like I can become an MFT and also maybe if I want to work as a counselor in a school, that would kind of be what helps me?
Yeah, so MFT is a different type of degree, but it's similar to LPCC, so to clinical counseling. You would be able to practice very similar like an MFT um, in a setting like that. Yeah. But
Oh,
you
okay.
have a different licensure and different types of rules. An MFT is different license and a different degree. Typically, those are held under the social and behavioral sciences. We're under education, so we primarily give you the school counseling credential and the LPCC, which is the clinical license.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you.
But I'd encourage, like, if you all have similar degrees that you're interested or graduate programs, I would say look into them further. Um, and I would say I always encourage students apply to multiple similar programs or apply to multiple master's in counseling programs. That's
Yeah.
important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm. Alrighty, everyone. If there's no more questions, I will end this session. Oh, okay. Um, we don't provide any specific aid to the students that are in the specific school district. The only aid that I know of is the students that are maybe also working at Cal State San Bernardino that they receive the CSU benefit, but we don't provide any discounts that's specific for any of our local employees that are in our districts. That's a good option, though. I can definitely look into that. In regards to your school balance, work-school balance, I think it's very challenging for our first-gen students or for many students that may have had a gap to transition into graduate school. Having to balance that is important, but I think also I want you to all think about how you transition into those things, making sure that you have a support system that may be helpful for you. The students that do struggle are primarily the ones that may have lots of things that they're juggling, and they didn't anticipate the transition into a graduate program that may be asking a lot, right? Like you're going to class, you're going to work, going home, doing homework, reading, writing, then you start hours of observation, internship. So there is quite a lot of extensive amount of expectations, but it is the level of graduate programs that's expectations as a graduate student. In regards to the work experience, anything that's related to education or any type of community service is related. Special education is definitely very highly related to our field. Volunteering is, if you even have volunteering experience in those settings, that'd be also very beneficial. You could work in higher education, adult education, continuing education, alternative types of education settings, any fields that may target a very specific community, such as maybe developmental disabilities, LGBTQIA plus community, veterans, anything that has to do with the community is beneficial to enter this type of field.
I just wanted to ask a question to clarify something on the website.
Mm-hmm.
So after doing the general CSU application, that will lead us to apply for the CSUSB application for counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, so you'll go through CSU apply and then you'll look for our program, and then you can apply. Now, there is other programs that are similar to us. Dominguez Hills has one. I want to say Fullerton has the same program, but they're slightly different. They still provide the PPS, but they may not provide the LPCC.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you can, through the CSU, you can technically apply to multiple programs that are within the CSU system. All right, any other questions?
Will you provide the recording for us?
Yes, the recording may be provided. I can't promise that right now, when, because I have someone that's doing all the recording, editing and stuff like that. I'm hoping that they'll have that available by the next couple of weeks, but yes, I can definitely provide the recording.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have one last question.
Sure.
Could we perhaps see again about the approximation for how much the dual program would be?
So they're the same cost because it's still a 3-year program.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Mhm. Like you
And that,
still require to take that level of classes throughout each semester. The only difference that it differs is like one class maybe. Here, I'll show you. So, hold on, I don't think you guys are seeing the right one. So what you'll see is this class, let's say you're only doing clinical or both, right? For this fall semester, you're doing 4 classes instead of 5 if you're doing only clinical. Um, but the Cal State system, they charge you a flat fee regardless of, so after 6 units, you're going to pay that tuition. Like you're not going to pay less because you're taking one class less. So that's why we structured it that way, because we're trying to maximize your dollar, to be honest with you. Since you're already paying that cost of tuition for that semester, that's the fee that you'll be paying for the semester.
sounds good. Thank you.
That's a good question. And typically, by the time you're admitted, you'll also get information of all the tuition fees and all that. And that way you'll be able to make a more sound decision.
So we can't take less than full time if we're admitted.
No, it's a cohort model and the classes are already structured. We don't provide a part-time degree. It's already a 3-year program. We're trying to get you into the workforce as soon as possible as well. Yeah. Then that'd be a 6-year program if you do half-time. Which by then I would say just go for your PhD. All right, everyone. This ends our session. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to the email. And also please refer to a lot of what's on the website, as many of the questions will be answered on that website as well. I look forward to seeing all of your applications, and hopefully I get to see some of your faces in a year from now. Bye, everyone. Have a good one. Enjoy your holidays.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. You too.